See? Okay, I'm very happy today to welcome Louisa Capulet. She's a rising actress from Vancouver. How are you, Louisa? Everything is fine?
Hi, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you today. First, I want to know about you because I found out that like you started doing films 4 years ago on your Internet Movie Database. But first, I want to know a little bit about your background growing up and your interest into the art. How did it happen?
Oh, well, it's funny. I've had kind of an interesting route to find myself here, and it feels in some ways it happened so suddenly and all at once that I ended up acting, and I love it so deeply. I actually always was quite creative growing up and loved the arts, but kind of ended up going like many artists, following a different path, perhaps a more practical path, and I despise that word now, but um, ultimately that inner call towards something creative was growing louder and louder. And so I ended up starting to model, which was something I'd always wanted to do, and had quite a bit of success in the modeling world. And my modeling agent was the one who actually encouraged me to start acting. And I hadn't really given it much thought at all about acting. It wasn't on my radar in the slightest. But once I enrolled myself in some acting classes and started to read some prolific acting books and I started to understand the craft, and I couldn't get enough. I was completely on fire for it. It spoke to me in such a deep way, as such a wonderful outlet for the creative energy that I've always had in me. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it. And since then, I can't get enough. And my life path has completely changed towards the craft.
Yes, that's why when I started to research material about you, all I found was modeling photos.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm so grateful for that time because that was really such a way for me to start exploring my creative voice and my creative energy. And it was through that, I believe, that I started to create sort of a brand for myself in this more classic styling, more period styling. And that ultimately led me towards some of my first roles in acting were along with that kind of image that I had created through modeling. So the two really went well hand in hand to lead me to where I am now.
I looked through your filmography. It was an accident yet that you did a lot of horror films.
It, it's funny how the journey unfolds. I don't think I ever really had a clear intention that I wanted to do just horror per se, and certainly since then I've expanded the genres that I work in. But I think in a lot of ways it suited me, especially at that time starting out. And some of my first early roles had that kind of gothic, eerie, ghostly quality, which I love. I love as a watcher to consume that type of cinema and TV. So it makes sense in a lot of ways.
Tell me, how did it feel for you moving from, still photography and modeling to a film set and being, with other actors performing and also a large number of cast and crew around you. Tell me how was the transition for you?
It was really a natural transition. I think it allowed me in modeling. I always felt in a way that you do put on a bit of a character to portray the energy and the attitude that you're hoping to capture in those still images. But the beauty of film and TV is the ability to have that motion added to it, that depth added to it, the ability to capture little moments in the eyes. And even as a model, having that intention in the eyes is so deeply important. And so in a way, it was a great training ground for me in a lot of ways to become aware of the camera, aware of my body, aware of my eyes, and to be able to tell a story in a still image. Really, acting just gives me a lot more range and freedom to go deeper into that. So for me, it felt like a real natural transition, and I still love modeling, but acting allows me to access a whole other layer of my soul and myself into my craft.
Yes. I see that already you were born in Vancouver. I like to know so far, according to you about the scene there, as a model, as an actress right now. What can you tell me about them? And so far, the production you starred in, they were Canadian production or American production coming to shoot in Vancouver. Like sometimes it happened.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Ontario. I actually relatively new out here on the West Coast. I grew up in Brampton, Ontario, outside of Toronto, and then spent a considerable amount of time in Ottawa, Ontario. And that's actually where I got my start in film and TV, was in Ottawa. And I made the move out here to the West Coast about a year and a half ago. Something was just really calling me out here. I mean, Vancouver is considered Hollywood North, and so in a lot of ways, there's a lot of opportunities out here for an emerging artist. But I don't know that that was necessarily what drove me to make this big move across the country. I think I truly just had like a gut intuition that said that this would be a beautiful environment for me to unfold further and develop into a new chapter of my life and my artistry. I came out here and then I joined a fully immersive conservatory program in acting in here in Vancouver, and that was an incredible experience as well. So I think it's interesting how everyone's unique journey unfolds and might take them to places that they never expected that they would be. For me, that was certainly the case. I suddenly just had this deep calling out to the West Coast, and I think this has been a beautiful landing ground for me out in the West Coast. I've had so much support from the industry out here, and I'm surrounded by beautiful nature on the daily, which deeply inspires me and fills me with creative energy. So that's been my experience out here on the West Coast so far.
Yes, that's why I'm hearing some birds from your
Oh,
window.
yes. Yes. Well, I have the gardens right behind me, and it's always full of beautiful birds and
Yeah.
nature.
I'm sure that many fans of horror films will watch your interview because they watched some of your work recently. So I want to know from you about the characters you played in horror films. Let's say with My Lover, My Grave, which is, I find, a very romantic title.
Yes. Yes. Oh, well, that character is, she is so dutiful and loving towards her family and is willing to sacrifice basically everything to keep them safe. So with that, I really had an incredible opportunity to really delve into the highs and lows of her arc and her story. And it is a bit of a softer energy in that role that I was able to embody compared to some of the roles I've had in the horror genre. That was shot in Toronto a few years ago now. But yeah, that character really allowed me to lean into a more maternal, softer energy and just that sense of duty and devotion.
Silent Bite. This is not a film taking place in a restaurant. No.
No, that's no. Although that would be that's a great idea. No, so yeah, that was a wonderful experience too in Ontario. That was my first vampire role. And that's really what drew me to it. I think that's a great archetype. I've always loved the archetype of the vampire, and they're so mysterious and powerful. And I think it taps into that longing that we have for beauty and for immortality and for elegance and power. And yes, that was a great role.
Any challenges in makeup, because being a vampire, you need to wear this teeth, and fangs and
Yes.
maybe lenses as well.
Yes, yes, all of that. And in fact, the teeth that we had, you had to like place them right onto your incisors and you had to really push it in there to let it dry. And I remember I kept having one of the fangs that just would not stick for whatever reason and would kind of point out at odd angles. So thank goodness for the makeup team that was really patient with me and we got that fang situation sorted out. But I had so much fun. I don't know. I love the costume. Part of me wishes I could dress like that all the time. It was very fun.
I imagine Butcher's Book 3 is a sequel, and you starred in the third film because it was
Correct.
called. So tell me about your character, Jade.
Jade. Yeah, she's a woman that is really going through a difficult period. She's struggling with addiction issues, the loss of custody of her daughter, and then she finds herself victim and falling
Mhm,
into the trap of um, kind of a sadistic serial killer. So I really wanted with that role is to lean into what makes her a human and lean into that struggle, those struggles and that feeling of hopelessness that she finds herself in her personal environment. And I think her arc through the story is that she ends up as, you know, she's fighting for her life. I think she finds that will to overcome the limits that she feels for herself in her life, and she finds that drive to survive in it. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the film, but it's you
mhm.
know, I think that there's a bit of a moment for her where she finds the will to live, because I think perhaps from her personal situation, she's finding even getting out of bed to be difficult, especially towards the beginning of the film.
Yes. I saw today the trailer of the Oval Portrait, and it's
Nice.
a classic story by Edgar Allan Poe. So tell me a little bit about it as well. You know, because it's a new film, we can tease it a little bit as well.
Yes, yes. Well, I had the chance to. It's a beautiful modern horror adaptation of a classic short film written by Edgar Allan Poe called The Oval Portrait, about an
Yes.
artist who is so wrapped up in his work and his obsession to create art and to capture beauty that he neglects and ignores his love in front of him. And in a lot of ways, the beauty that exists in front of him in the real world, he loses sight of that because he becomes so immersed and addicted to his craft. And it's a beautiful short story. I think it's one that's often overlooked in Poe's canon of work. So it was really exciting to use that as a basis. You know, Adrian Langley, who wrote and directed the film, used that as an inspiration, as a basis for a reimagining of that story that takes place now in a modern world with
Mhm.
the lead, Ava, who's struggling to find her place in a modern world where her heart feels very drawn to the beauty and the history of the past. And so for me, it was, I often can relate to those feelings of admiring the beauty and the poetry and the world of antiques and all of that
Mhm.
magic that exists from that time period, and feeling a little bit out of touch with modern society. And I think that film
Mhm.
really does a beautiful job of examining those themes and examining the themes of, as an artist, we get so caught up in wanting to achieve and reach new levels of mastery in our craft, that it's a beautiful reminder that we also need to take the time to be present and um, appreciating our day-to-day life as well. So that was a great role for me, and it was one of the first roles I filmed, and it really aligned, I think, with my personal love of Gothic literature, my personal love of period piece.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was such a wonderful experience, and the energy on set, I will say, was one of the most uniquely cohesive and beautiful energies on set that I've ever experienced. I think the cast and crew were also on board to be doing something that has bringing a little bit of that literary and artistic touch. And I
Mhm.
think it spoke to all of us in different ways. And really, the whole cast and crew was so passionate about the work that we were creating. And so I'll always remember that experience on set as being just truly special.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the way you describe your characters and also yourself being a little bit disconnected from modern world, you know, remind me a little bit of Phantom of the Opera. And I feel
Yes.
you would be a very nice contender if they like to make a remake for it in the future.
Oh, that touches my heart. It's so funny. That is one of my absolute favorite stories, one of my absolute favorite novels, my favorite musicals. I've seen it
Yeah,
multiple times whenever I can see it on stage, the production of it.
yeah.
I have learned some of the songs from it too on piano and singing, and it's truly one of my absolute favorite favorite stories. So that thank you for saying that. That touches me.
Mhm. Do you have a certain actress like role model who do you like? Who start before in horror films, and you like, in the future to be like her, like a horror film icon or a stream queen.
I have to say, I get so much of my inspiration from actors of the golden age. I really,
Yeah.
Vivian Lee is one of my absolute icons. Um, Loretta Young,
Uh-huh.
Rita Hayworth. I feel like they had this exuberance that just it sparkled from them. It sparkled on the screen, and what an exciting time to be part of the industry. And that truly inspires me. I get inspiration from so many different people and from so many different places, not even necessarily just from actors, but Dita Von Teese, for example, is another inspiration of mine. So I think I look and admire so many different traits and qualities of the work that these
Yes.
actors and actresses have done, and I use that in different ways in my own work.
Yes. I imagine Saturday Bite Fever is another vampire film.
It is indeed. In fact, it is the second series, the second film in the anthology of Silent Bite. Although it's a completely reimagined, it's not a direct sequel. It just kind of takes place in
Yes.
that same world. And that was I got to play the character of Angela. It was very different from Lucia,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was really really fun.
Tell me, did you go to some horror festival or, presenting films? I want to know as well if you have gone and as well fan reaction about your work, whom you meet.
I didn't get the chance to participate. I know Oval Portrait was screened at the H.P. Lovecraft Festival. I didn't have the opportunity to go and promote the film. I would have loved to have done so. Here in Vancouver, I know that we have a yearly like Vancouver Horror Fest film festival. I haven't had the chance to participate in that yet, just because I've been so busy here with my schooling program that I've just graduated from.
Yes,
But
congratulations.
I would love to participate. I mean, I think going to those events is such an amazing way to connect to the community and connect to people who appreciate that genre and to see the impact of your work. I think that's beautiful. So I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I'd very much love to in the future.
Yes. There is a film festival in France right now. It's another one in Switzerland. It's called Avoriaz,
Yes,
and
okay.
it's a fantastic and horror film festival. I used to hear about a lot and cover a lot of the films. It used to be held in the 90s, but right now there is a new one in Switzerland, in Zurich.
Mm,
So I hope some of your work, and of course a lot of film festival, specialize in thrillers and horror. I think one
yes.
way or the other, you will be there, presenting your work.
Thank you. I hope for
Mhm.
that too.
I want to ask you, we talked about Phantom of the Opera, but do you have like a dream project or a dream character you like to do in the future?
Oh, I have many. I do have many. I truly love, right now, I've actually really found my heart beating for theater, for the stage. And
Great.
yes, I'm currently in a few plays, which we could discuss in a little bit, but I've
Uh-huh.
always dreamt of embodying some of the women from the plays of Tennessee Williams, and I would love if I can only imagine that they would be a more modern screen adaptation of those roles, perhaps like a Streetcar Named Desire or the Glass Menagerie. I would love to embody those characters. So
Yeah.
I think for me, any period piece, any literary adaptation, I would that would be a dream for me.
Yes. Uh, did you shoot a film and it's still upcoming? You can tell us about it.
Not that I can talk about that's upcoming right now. Currently, right now, like I mentioned, my focus has actually been quite a bit on the stage out here in Vancouver. So I'm currently playing Juliet in a production of Romeo and Juliet, and
Wow.
I'm also slated to play Gwen in an upcoming play written by John Lazarus called Running Wild, which is directed by Roy Charette, which is a beautiful comedic reimagining of a night that Oscar Wilde spent in Kingston, Ontario. So I'm very
Yes,
excited to have those, and that's kind of where my focus has been at the moment.
this is great. Luisa, I want to thank you very much for this lovely interview, and I wish you the best. Congratulations for sure you about your graduation,
Thank you.
and also for your film career. Also, I look forward to hear about your new theatrical performance on stage.
Thank you
And
so much.
I hope you can come back again. When you have a new project, we can talk about it in another interview.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you for having me today. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you.
Likewise, enjoy the rest of the day, enjoy the
Thank you.
weekend, and I wish you all the best and all the success in the world. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye now.